All right. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone's having a good day so far. Thanks for joining our class today. Let's just jump right into our agenda for today. Hopefully all the other students will, file in soon. But yeah, our agenda, we're going to start off with some vocab practice. We'll look at a couple of words. We'll look at their usage in a paragraph, and we're going to figure out what we think the definitions of these words are. Make sure that you're using context clues to figure out your definitions and explain them clearly. After that, we'll move on to our novel study. We'll check out a passage from a novel, answer a few challenging questions, and then we'll move on finally to our lesson plan. And we're visiting again the theme of fate versus free will. So, first things first, vocab. Let's have someone read this slide. Harper, can you read the slide for us, please?
Yeah, read the following paragraph and write down what you think the highlighted vocab words mean. Submit your answers in a full sentence with an explanation. Throughout history, some leaders have used uh, ma- machi- Machiavellian
Oh,
tactics to
let's
gain
try it
and
again.
maintain.
It's Machiavellian.
Oh, Machiavellian tactics to gain and maintain power. Rather than earning trust through honesty and fairness, they manipulate information, spread fear, and eliminate op- opposition to strengthen their authority. Once in power, these leaders may seek to subjugate the population by limiting freedoms and discouraging criticism. As citizens become increasingly fearful of punishment or exclusion, they are less likely to question authority, allowing corrupt systems to grow stronger. This demonstrates how manipulation and control can work together to undermine justice and individual freedom.
All right. Excellent job. Thank you for reading. So, using this passage, I want you guys to come up with what you think the definitions of the words are. The words are Machiavellian and subjugate, and be sure to provide some explanation behind the definition. Overall, your answer should be somewhere around 4 sentences. If you have any questions, please let me know. All right, so it's been almost 10 minutes now. Let's try to get our answers submitted as soon as possible. This should be like a 5-minute exercise. All right, I got one answer here. All right, Harper, can you read your answer, please?
Yeah, I think Machiav Machiavellian means evil or dishonest because the tactics they were talking about, they manipulated information and spread fear. I think subjugate means to decrease or control since they're limiting freedom.
Nice. Okay, very good job. So we're on the right track here. Let me just put these in one paragraph. So I think Machiavellian means evil or dishonest because the tactics they were talking about, they manipulated information and spread fear. Um, because the tactics they were talking about involved manipulating information. Let's say that. Involved manipulating information, and spreading fear. Oops. Okay. I think subjugate means to decrease or control since they're limiting freedom. This is the wrong there. We're meant to say they are, so that would be this form of there. Okay, good stuff. So I think we can probably add a little bit of detail to explain uh how exactly are they limiting freedom? What are they doing to for you to say that? And same thing with spreading fear. What are they doing? What are their tactics that show that they're spreading fear? But good stuff. Good definitions. Absolutely on the right track. I got one more answer here. Yan Fei, can you read your answer, please?
I think Machiavellian means using clever lies and tricks in order to get or achieve something, and subjugate means to gain control of something by the use of force.
Yeah, very good. Excellent job. So I think Machiavellian means using clever lies and tricks in order to get something or achieve something. Good. So they're not just, lying for the sake of lying. They're doing it because they want to get something out of somebody. And let's not start sentences with the word and. Let's say, I think. I think subjugate means to gain control of something by the use of force. All right. So good stuff. You provided a definition for both, but for next time, please provide explanations for your definitions. So how did you come up with these definitions? What in the paragraph made you think, yeah, Machiavellian means to be clever and lying. Yeah, subjugate means to, use force. So for next time, add this little bit of detail as well. Let's see. That is the last answer I got so far, so I'm going to move on. So let's read the provided definitions here. Eric, can you read these definitions for us, please?
Machiavellian definition using manipulation, deception, and strategic cunning to gain or maintain power, often without regard for ethics or morality. Example: the Machiavellian politician secretly spread false information about his opponents, destroying his own position in the election. Subjugate definition: to bring a person or group under control, often through force, fear, authority, or oppression. Example: the emperor attempted to subjugate neighboring nations by expanding his military and crushing resistance.
All right. Excellent job. So we have a pretty good understanding of what both these words mean. So you guys are talking about manipulation, doing something to gain power, to gain something. So that's exactly what Machiavellian is. It's to be manipulative, to use deception, to be very strategic, all with the goal of maintaining or gaining power. And subjugate, again, good stuff. We're on the right track with our definitions. It's the act of having a group under your control. So using force, using fear, using oppression, using power, whatever it is, using those tactics to gain control of a group or a person. So that's subjugate. So our task now is we're going to use both of these words to write our own short story, and it's going to be about this following topic. So you're going to write about a society facing a major crisis, and this can be whatever you want. I just put a couple examples here, like a natural disaster or economic, political conflicts, whatever it is. A major crisis occurred, and now there is a new leader that emerges. So your task is to write about this story, talk about is this leader going to be a force for good, or are they a threat to society? So are they good or bad? Define this leader, provide some details about if they're good or bad, and make sure you're using both vocab words in your answer. If you have any questions for me, please let me know. Try to hit this sentence limit at least 5 sentences, and let's try to submit in roughly 10 minutes. All right, so it's been, definitely 10 minutes at least. Let's try to get our answers submitted as soon as possible. Whatever, you've written so far, let's try to get that in. Even if it's a little short, that's fine. Let's see some answers and let's take them up. All right, so I haven't received any answers here. I'm just gonna move on to the next activity. Let's check this out. Um, let's go with Harper. Can you read this slide for us, please?
Yeah. Um, Summary. Set in the aftermath of the Second World War, the English patient takes place primarily in a damaged Italian villa where four individuals, each carrying the emotional and physical scars of war, find themselves living together in isolation. Among them is a severely burned man known only as the English patient, whose identity and past remain uncertain. As the novel unfolds, fragments of memory gradually reveal connections between the characters and the events that shaped their lives. Rather than following a straightforward narrative, the novel moves between past and present, exploring love, loss, identity, and memory and the lasting effects of conflict through interconnected stories and shifting perspectives. The characters confront questions about belonging, loyalty, and the ways in which personal histories continue to influence the present. The novel ultimately examines how people attempt to reconstruct meaning after experiencing profound upheaval.
All right, excellent job. So, based on this summary so far, we have an understanding of what the setting, what the atmosphere is like, what the world building is like. So we know that this is happening after World War II. This is the aftermath of that. We're taking place in Italy in a damaged Italian villa. We know that our main character here, the English patient, is somebody that suffered severe burned, uh, wounds, and they don't really know too much about who they are, their identity, their past, um, I guess their belonging. Like, who are they in this society? Who are they in general? It's uncertain. So a lot of this novel here revolves around that theme, the theme of loss, the theme of loss of identity, the theme of memory, trauma, the past, and different perspectives. So that's what we're going to be looking at here. And that is what our passage is also going to be roughly about as well. So let's have someone read this page, the context in the passage. Yan Fei, can you read this page for us, please?
The characters in the English patient are an attempting to live with the consequences of events that cannot be changed. The novel frequently explores how memory shapes identity and influence the present. Hannah often found herself pausing between tasks caused by memories that arrived without warning. A familiar scent, a half-forgotten melody, or a passing remark could suddenly transport her to another time, making the distance between past and present feel almost non non-existent. She sometimes
Non-existent.
non-existent. She sometimes wondered whether people truly moved forward through life or merely carried their histories with them, layer upon layer, until memory became inseparable from identity itself. Though years and circumstances changed, the emotional weight of certain experiences seemed to remain, quietly influencing choices long after the original moments had passed.
All right. Excellent job. So based on this passage here, we're going to answer a few questions, and the first one's on the screen. It says to analyze the significance of the phrase, the distance between past and present feel almost non-existent. So, based on this quote, identify where it is said in this passage, look at the context clues, look at the context itself, and I'll give you guys a summary as well. And try to use all this information to answer the question, what is the significance of that phrase? Try to submit your answer with around 3 to 5 sentences, and please try to submit within the time limit. Let's not go way over, like at the very most 10, maybe 15 minutes, but 10 minutes is definitely enough time to come up with any answer. If you have any questions, please let me know. All right, so we got one answer submitted so far. Oh, two answers. Nice. Let's check these out. All right, Yamfei, can you read your answer, please?
This phrase highlights the powerful influence of memory on Hannah. It shows that memories can instantly transfer her back in time, erasing the perceived gap between the past and the present. This reflects how deeply integrated memories are in shaping her perception, and it also echoes the novel's theme of how memory is intertwined with identity and constantly influences the present.
Excellent. So very strong closing remarks there. Let's take this up. The phrase highlights the powerful influence of memory on Hannah. It shows that memories can instantly transport her back in time, erasing the perceived gap between the past and present. Well said. So, whatever memory that she's feeling, big or small, it can immediately have a big impact on her. This reflects how deeply ingrained memories are in shaping her perception and also echoes the novel's theme of how memories intertwined with identity and constantly influences the present. Very well said with that last part, how memories intertwined with identity and the past can influence the present. My only thing here is we can try to add some specific examples from the passage, from the summary, up to you, but something specific to help strengthen your answer, to help, base your answer on something. So a lot of your answer is kind of um, like you're saying all the right stuff, but you want to prove it by saying, I know this because this is said in this text. So, we can add that little bit of detail here. Um, Try to add specific details from the text to further support your answer. All right, moving on. Harper, can you read your answer, please?
Yeah. Um, the phrase "the distance between past and present feel almost non-existent" shows that memory is more than just something from before. For Hannah, the past feels very close to her present, especially when something reminds her of it. It suggests that her identity is closely tied to what she has already experienced. She doesn't just remember the past, she still feels connected to it. Overall, even though time passes, her past still affects how she thinks and acts today.
All right, very well said. So the phrase, the distance between past and present feel almost non-existent, shows that memory is more than just something from before. For Hannah, the past feels very close to her present, especially when something reminds her of it. It suggests that her identity is closely tied to what she has already experienced. She doesn't just remember the past, she feels connected to it. Good. So this part is very key to mention, especially when it comes to like her feelings. Like, what does the character think about all this? Overall, even though time passes, her past still affects how she thinks and acts today. Strong. So these last two sentences are very specific, very strong, very important to mention. A lot of what we said before is slightly vague. So I think the same detail can be added here. We can probably benefit from having a specific detail from the story, from the passage, just to you know, base all of our answers, all of our explanations on something. So good start so far. Um, I think we have another time for one more question. Let's look at this one. All right. This time we're analyzing symbolism. So we can probably, yeah, okay, the sentence limit is still good. I was about to say, with symbolism, a lot of it has to do with adding your own details, having your own opinion, your own take on what you think the symbol represents. So in this case, the symbol is the layers. So I want you guys to identify where are the layers mentioned in this passage, how are they mentioned, why are they mentioned, and what do they mean? What do they represent? So try to submit your answer in around 3 to 5 sentences. Please try to submit within around 10 minutes. And if you have any questions for me, please let me know. All right, so I think somewhere around 10 minutes has passed. Let's try to get our answers submitted as soon as possible. Okay, I got one answer. All right. Harper, can you read your answer, please?
Yeah. In the English patient, the idea of layers shows how a person's identity is shaped by their past and memories. It suggests that people don't just move forward in time, but instead build themselves layer upon layer from their experiences. The past and the present become closely connected and almost inseparable. This also shows that trauma and important memories don't go away, but stay underneath everything and still affect a person's life. Overall, these layers suggest that identity is built over time, and the past is always still part of the present.
Okay, good answer here. So I like some of the stuff they included here, such as the aspect of layers being stacked on each other, and you talked about some stuff being underneath other stuff. That's good. Let's take this up. So in the English patient, and let's put quotes around the title here. The idea of layers, we don't need quotes here actually, shows how a person's identity is shaped by their past and memories. Okay, so this is a pretty vague statement so far. I think we need to add a little bit more detail to describe what layers has to do with this. So let's see if you talk about it here. So it suggests that people don't just move forward in time, but instead, a comma here, but instead build themselves layer upon layer from their experiences. Good. So this is a solid description of why you said layers. The past and present become closely connected and almost inseparable. This also shows that trauma and important memories don't go away, but they stay underneath everything and still affect a person's life. Overall, these layers suggest that identity is built over time, and the past is always still part of the present. Nicely said. Um, yeah, I don't have too much to change here. This is a well-formatted answer. Just a couple of punctuation marks, but we're good from there. I got one more answer. Okay. Yan Fei, can you read your answer, please?
The layers symbolize the accumulated past experiences of people. They suggest the richness and complexity of memories, indicating that identity is constructed by countless past events. These layers show how deeply the past influences the formation of one's identity.
All right. Solid stuff. Uh, again, we don't really need these quotations here. The layers, let's say in the English patient. Oh, I forgot the quotes. Symbolize the accumulated past experiences of people. Nicely said. So stacking up, adding up all these different past experiences, that is the layer that they're referring to. Well done. They suggest the richness and complexity of memories, indicating that identity is constructed by countless past events. Nice. These layers show how deeply the past influenced the formation of one's identity. Okay, very good stuff. Yeah, solid answer. I don't really have anything to add here. It's really good stuff for both of you guys. Well, I don't have any other answers, so let's move forward. We're going to check out our lesson plan now. So, we were talking about fate and free will, and I believe we already defined these last time, but I'm just going to quickly go over them just, as a refresher for now. Fate deals with the notion that your life is predetermined. You have certain things that you cannot escape, certain circumstances that your life is kind of constrained to. So this could be something like how your family is set up, where you live, if there's war and poverty going on, um, health factors, historical factors, social factors, like all these things can have a strong ability to constrain your life and you can't really change it. So that is what fate relates to. Free will is kind of the opposite. If there's any one sentence you want to focus on for free will, it's going to be this sentence. It says people are not simply products of their circumstances, but active participants in shaping their futures. So free will is all about being responsible for changing your life. You have the power to make decisions. You have the responsibility to make decisions. You can do what you want. You can go against the grain. You can choose your path. So that's what free will is. It's kind of the opposite of fate. And there's a couple of things here to define or to identify fate and free will in literature. Let's read this slide. I don't think we saw this before. Eric, can you read this slide for us, please?
Indicators of fate, references to destiny, prophecy, or inevitability. Repeated patterns across generations. Characters feeling trapped by circumstances. Symbolism suggesting unavoidable outcomes. Language emphasizing inevitability. Could not escape, was destined, inevitable. Indicators of free will. Deliberate decision making. Acts of rebellion or resistance. Characters accepting responsibility. Moments where choices alter outcomes. Language emphasizing agency. Chose, decided, refused.
All right. Nicely said. So, in these bullet points here, we're looking at how to identify fate and free will in literature. If you see repeated patterns, if you see mentions of being trapped, can't escape, unavoidable outcomes, so you have an idea that this is talking about fate. If you see things that are talking about taking responsibility, um, making your own decisions, all that kind of stuff relates to free will. So let's do a couple of exercises here. We're going to read a passage and answer a couple questions. Yan Fei, can you read this slide for us, please?
For years, Elena told herself that she would leave the town. She spoke of distant cities, different futures, and opportunities that existed beyond the mountains that surrounded her home. Yet every season seemed to bring another reason to remain. Her father's illness, her younger brother's needs, the failing family business. Each responsibility appeared separately, but together they formed a barrier she could never quite overcome. By the time she reached middle age, she no longer spoke of leaving at all. Looking back, she sometimes wondered whether she had made a choice or merely followed a path that had been laid before her long ago.
All right, excellent. So using this passage, we're going to answer a couple questions. Let me put this one on the screen. So this first question, how does the author use cumulative detail to develop the theme of fate? So we're talking about detail that is adding up. We have multiple pieces of information, they're accumulating, and how do they help develop the theme of fate? So try to submit your answer with around, I don't know, let's say around like 3 to 4 sentences. Doesn't have to be too long. And let's aim to submit in like 5 to 7 minutes. Maybe like 5 minutes. It doesn't seem like a too difficult of a question. If you have any questions for me, please let me know. All right, so I think around 5 minutes has passed already. Let's try to get our answers submitted as soon as possible so we can take them up and hopefully do one more question. All right. Uh, let's take up this answer. Okay. Harper, can you read your answer, please?
Yeah, the phrase the distance between past and present feels, uh, wait, actually, I think I
Yeah, I
turned in
think
the
this is the
wrong
wrong
thing.
answer.
Wait.
Looking at a cumulative detail to develop the theme of fate. So let's try to get our answers submitted. This question's not really a long question, you know. It's I think definitely doable in 5 minutes. This is taking way over 5 minutes. Please try to get your answer submitted ASAP so that we can take it up within class time. Great. Let's check out our answer. Okay. Harper, can you read your answer, please?
Yeah, um, in the passage, the author uses cumulative detail by listing Elena's responsibilities like her father's illness, her brother's needs, and the failing family business. Each problem alone seems manageable, but together they take away her freedom. They build up into a barrier that keeps her stuck in her hometown. Overall, it shows her circumstances slowly limit her choices and control in her life.
All right. So in the passage, the author uses cumulative detail by listing Elena's responsibilities. Good. So mentioning all these responsibilities, how they're stacking up onto each other, that is the detail that I wanted to see. Like her father's illness, her brother's needs, and the failing family business. Each problem alone seems manageable, but together they take away her freedom. They build up into a barrier that keeps her stuck in her hometown. Okay. Overall, it shows how her circumstances slowly limit her choices and control her life. Nice. Okay. Good information here. Well written. This probably took 10 minutes too long though, so please submit way earlier next time. We have a couple minutes left. This next question can just be a one sentence answer. Uh, you know, pick one of these. So, to what extent is Elena a victim of circumstance versus an active participation in her own situation? So, you can pick which one you think is more relevant. Do you think she's more of a victim of her circumstances, or do you think she's an active participant in her situation? So, you can pick one and you can briefly explain it. One sentence is probably enough, 1 to 2 sentences. And when I say 5 minutes, I really mean 5 minutes, like at the absolute maximum. All right, so we are at the end of class. I don't see any answers submitted. So for the time being, I'm gonna hold off on this question, but we'll probably continue with this question for next week's class. Um, but yeah, for next week, please try to submit your answers a lot sooner. Uh, you know, we were able to do this better last time. I don't know what happened today. So yeah, that's it for today. I'll see you all next week. Take care.